Hello. I now call to order the regular meeting of the Belvedere Planning Commission. The open forum is an opportunity for any citizen to briefly address the Planning Commission on any matter that does not appear on the agenda. Comments are limited to no more than 3 minutes. Matters that appear to warrant commission consideration may be agendized for further discussion at a later meeting. Is there anyone in the audience or on Zoom who would like to speak during open forum? Okay, please.
As a longtime, there we go. It's on. As a longtime member of this community, I just wanted to express my gratitude to Ashley for volunteering to be on the Planning Commission, and once on the Planning Commission for doing such an outstanding job, both as a commissioner and as a chair. And having served on the Planning Commission myself for a number of years, I know what's involved. It takes lots of time away from family, loved ones. It also takes knowledge of the Belvedere Code and the ability to apply that in a myriad of situations, an ability to listen and to balance the interests of the applicant with those of the community. And it also takes an ability to articulate yourself clearly and without any bias. And Ashley, you have done all of those beautifully. As a member of the community, I'm extremely grateful for your service. As your dad, I couldn't be prouder of you.
You stole my thunder. I was going to tell them.
Thank you, Angel.
Hi, I'm Sandy Donnell, and I live at 137 Golden Gate Avenue. And I think I've known Ashley from, not inception, but soon after, after her birth. And oh my goodness. And I'm impartial. I'm not related to Ashley in any way whatsoever. But just you, I'm so grateful. And I know I speak for the community to have somebody who's been raised here, who feels the love for Belvedere. And you've been, as your dad said, unbiased. You've looked at things. You've stood up for your beliefs. It's really been remarkable. And I'm so proud that you're the next generation, the really wonderful generation that my kids are as well. So thank you so much. Just my gratitude and appreciation is tremendous. Thank you.
I'm Pat Carapiat. I live at 4 Lagoon Road, and I served with Ashley for the last 4 years, and she was my vice chair. And it was a pleasure serving with her and guiding her along through the process so that when she took over as chair, she was fully capable and able to lead the Planning Commission in a very even and fair way. And I want to thank her for her service, because I agree, it takes a lot of time, takes time away from family. And I think everybody in the community appreciates it. They may not always appreciate it at the time they're here, but I think people do appreciate all of us volunteers stepping forward to make this community a better place. And I wish you good luck and much happiness on the East Coast.
Well, I have the job of being mayor of Belvedere, Jane Cooper, and I will be reading a proclamation that the city of Belvedere is pleased to honor Ashley Johnson for outstanding service to the Belvedere community. Whereas Ashley Johnson was born in San Francisco and is the daughter of Steger and Astrid Johnson and grew up in Belvedere. And whereas Ashley attended New York University, where she studied English and creative writing, whereas Ashley spent 10 years working in advertising at global agencies in New York, Hong Kong, and San Francisco before shifting to client-side marketing roles in financial services and prestige beauty. And whereas Ashley returned to Belvedere in 2017 after the birth of her first daughter and has spent the last 8 years raising her 2 girls, Holland and Logan. And whereas Ashley enjoys walking on the bike path before sunrise, reading and cooking for friends and family. And whereas Ashley served on the board of the Belvedere Community Foundation since 2021. And whereas Ashley has been a volunteer Belvedere block captain since 2020. And whereas Ashley has served on the Planning Commission since March 2021 and was elected chair in September 2024, attending over 60 meetings. Now, therefore, I, Jane Cooper, Mayor of the City of Belvedere, on behalf of the citizens of Belvedere, sincerely thank Ashley Johnson for her dedication, commitment, and community spirit, and join in recognizing Ashley for her contribution to the Belvedere community. Signed this day, 20th of May, 2025.
Thank you.
And maybe we have to add that Ashley maybe is the most recent, maybe, I don't know, in the last 100 years to have actually given birth in the city of Belvedere to a child. Not planned, but
That might be TMI,
that's,
Sandy.
no, that's pretty good devotion, I think.
Yeah.
Great.
I guess I'm supposed to talk into this. I'm never good at that. The other thing I did want to mention is that Ashley's husband, Marshall Butler, has also volunteered for the city and been a devoted member of the Historic Preservation Committee. And they're, as you heard, they're off to a new adventure on the East Coast, where I'm sure that community will be very lucky to have Ashley and Marshall come in with all their enthusiasm. So Belvedere will miss you both.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so can we move on to reports now?
Kind of an exciting open forum.
Yeah, it's very nice. Are there any commissioners or staff who wish to provide a report on any standing committees?
I'll just do a quick update on the housing element. We did receive comments back from HCD that all of our most recent edits look great and are okay. And so our next step, Robert will update the community at the city council meeting on June 9th. And then we will post the edited revised housing element online for up to 7 days and hopefully then submit it to HCD and get our compliance letter. That's the goal.
Great, thank you. Moving on to the consent calendar. The consent calendar consists of items that are considered to be non-controversial. Unless any item is specifically removed by any member of the council, staff, or public, the consent calendar will be adopted by one motion. Items removed will be considered in the sequence that they appear on the agenda. Would any members of the Planning Commission like to remove an item from the consent calendar?
I think it's technically removal. I have one question about number 2, which is 53 Alcatraz.
Okay.
And actually, Sammy, this is for you. I remember when I was on the Parks Committee that the renovations to 53 Alcatraz were going to include repairs to the lane that goes alongside. And I didn't see those on the plans. Are those being done as part of the renovations?
It's something we can ask the property owner.
Okay,
to
great.
incorporate.
Thanks.
I would just like to mention, sorry, that we do have our city attorney, James Ross, who is available on Zoom tonight, should we
Okay.
have questions for him.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, so. Sorry, did we have anyone on Zoom who wanted to remove any items on consent?
No, there's no one on Zoom with their hand raised.
Thank you. Okay, can I please have a motion to adopt items 1 and 2 on the consent calendar?
I'll make a motion to adopt items 1 and 2 on the consent calendar.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
I'm an I with, I'd like an answer to my question. From the property owner.
Property owner's not here tonight,
Okay.
but do you know when it was approved previously, if there was a condition of approval added?
I don't know. It was before I was on the commission. It was June 12th, 2023.
Just to clarify, you're saying that as a condition of approval, the lane is required to be repaired by the
Right,
applicant.
that was one of the conditions that the Parks Committee had requested be added.
I think that can only be upheld if it was made a
done the
condition
first
at
time.
the meeting.
Right.
so When it got approved.
Right, so I just want to know the answer to my question.
We'd have to
That's
go
it,
back
okay.
and look at the
Okay,
notes.
all right,
from
then I guess I'm an I, but I would still just like to know the answer. I'm still a Parks Committee member in heart.
I don't know I mean, we don't have the answer tonight, so.
I can look it up in the minutes, so.
Right, but if it wasn't in that first approval, then it won't be
Right.
carried forward.
Right.
Right,
Right,
as long as you're okay with that and understand
it
that.
is what it is.
Yeah. So- Can you go to the microphone though, please?
Steger Johnson, 89 Bayview. Just a question of procedure here. If something is on the consent calendar, a question comes up regarding that item, it should be removed from the calendar. If the question has not been answered and the approval may depend on whether or not it has been, then how can you vote to approve or deny? I mean, I think there needs to be clarification with respect to the answer to the question.
Well, I think for me, I'm going to approve the extension of the time. And the approval, and my approval is not changing the underlying conditions of the approval of the demolition and the renovations that were approved back in 2023. I wanted to know, I guess for myself, whether or not the renovations to the lane that the Parks Committee had requested in 2023 were part of the.
So I didn't look at the item carefully. Is the consent calendar for a demolition permit? Or what-
It's for the extension of a demolition.
Extension of
yeah.
time.
It's the extension
Okay.
of time. Yeah.
Thank you.
For all the entitlements, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so
So,
we can
okay.
get clarification on that.
All right.
I think it would be cleaner if we made the motion, we started over with the motion too.
To pull it from, Or
No, let's just make the motion to approve consent items 1 and 2.
Okay.
So I will make a motion to approve consent items 1 and 2.
I'll second the motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then we have
Okay,
number
all right.
3 as well.
Thank you. Right, sorry. So it's these two items. It's these two
Right, and number 1
in the
is the
minutes,
minutes.
sorry.
Yeah.
So my mistake.
Okay.
All items on consent calendar, so including minutes. Do we need to do the minutes separately? Do we need to redo it to include items 1 through 3?
Yes.
Okay, can I get one more motion, please, with items 1 through 3 on the consent calendar?
I'll make a motion to adopt items 1 through 3 on the consent calendar.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Third time's the charm. Okay. I would like to open the public hearing for 333 Bella Vista and ask for a staff report.
Thank you, Chair Johnson and members of the Planning Commission. For your consideration this evening is an application for design review and use permit to construct a new accessory dwelling unit at 333 Bella Vista Avenue. The project site is a 14,400 square foot parcel on Belvedere Island. The property is currently developed with a 2-story residence and attached garage. The site contains a 4,516 square foot residence, multiple mature trees, and vegetation. Again, the applicant is requesting Planning Commission approval of design review and use permit to allow the accessory dwelling unit to exceed the allowable height. The applicant proposes a 1,195 square foot detached ADU with an attached garage at the rear of the property. The project will enter into an affordability rental agreement at the time of building permit final to allow for this extra square footage. The ADU includes a 255 square foot deck and stairs that lead down to the existing lawn. The deck counts towards the total lot coverage because it is approximately 10 feet above grade. The state law allows for a detached ADU to be constructed up to 16 feet in height if located more than half a mile from major transit. The average slope of the lot at 333 Bella Vista is 40%, which is significant. Due to the large slope of the lot and the location of the existing driveway, the proposed ADU will exceed the allowable height by 9 feet at the high point of the structure. Given the location of the ADU is tucked into the corner of the lot and is somewhat visible from Bella Vista Avenue. The ADU will be constructed out of vertical red cedar siding, beige and gray toned limestone masonry, dark gray shingles to match the main house, and board form concrete. The windows are proposed in black mullion finish. Tonight, the commission must find that the requested use under a conditional use permit, that under the particular circumstances will not be detrimental to the health, safety, morals, comfort, convenience, and general welfare of the persons residing or working in the neighborhood, and will not be injurious or detrimental to the property and improvements in the neighborhood of such proposed use or the general welfare of the city. Staff recommends that the findings for the use permit can be made because there is no evidence to suggest that the proposed ADU would have any detrimental effects. Additionally, the ADU would benefit the city by providing another housing unit. The project is exempt from CEQA, and as detailed in the draft resolution, staff finds the project complies with the zoning ordinance and general plan policies and recommends the Planning Commission adopt the resolutions for design review and use permit. And I'm available for questions, should you have any.
Thank you. Do any commissioners have questions for staff?
I have one question. And this is just more for my own edification. In measuring the square footage of the ADU, it's a little less than 1,200 square feet. Is the garage included in that, or is the garage separate?
The garage is included.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, if there are no other questions, I will invite the applicant up to speak about their project.
Well, I'm Dan Short. My wife is Maddie Short. Thank you for considering our proposal. Thanks, Rebecca and Sammy, for all your work on it. I don't really have much to add beyond what Rebecca outlined, but we're building ADU for use by my parents, who are currently residents at Mallard Point. And happy to answer any questions, but I'll hand it over to Sean.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, my name's Sean Bailey. I'm the project architect. Thanks to Rebecca and Sammy for the staff report and all their work to get us to this point. As Dan mentioned, this is a project that is meant to be an accessory dwelling unit for his folks who are locating here. And we're asking for the height conditional use permit tonight because it's a pretty steep and challenging site. And we'll go through some of those conditions. I think Rebecca, okay, there it goes, sorry. I think Rebecca covered a lot of the zoning data. It is 1,200 square feet or under that, a little under that. That does include the garage. We're within all the ADU allowable setbacks, more than 4 feet from property line. But the height is just under 25 feet as proposed. Quick site plan here that shows the location of it. The existing residence. It seemed like the natural spot to put it on the site based on the driveway location and just some of the other site parameters that we were looking at as we dug in. The existing trees are shown in green here, and one of our goals was to try to locate it where we don't have to take out any trees, which we were able to do. And then this diagram here is meant to show some of the topography challenges. So it drops at almost 40% on average from the rear of the property to the front. And what's highlighted there in green is the existing lawn, which is actually slightly dug in around 4 feet to the previous grade. So when you have that go up 16 feet at the allowable code, it becomes extremely challenging. Just the ADU footprint, the topography drops almost 20 feet within that footprint. So we looked at lowering it, and what some of the negative effects were just digging in a tremendous amount at the rear, a lot of earth movement. And we also wanted to design a home that was comfortable for many decades to come. And so having a bunch of steps down to the ADU every day didn't feel like the right move. So that sort of led us to where we are. This is a diagram that shows the height plane at 16 feet and hopefully shows that not all of it is sticking beyond that. It's just part of it that goes beyond that 16-foot height plane. This maybe a good segue. The original house was designed by Daniel Gale in 1983. He was a pretty well-known architect, and it was his own personal residence. Having spent some time in the house itself and setting the drawings, we had great appreciation for the architecture. So it was kind of a fun challenge on how to tie it in. We looked at a gable roof, which sort of made our height issues even worse. So we've tried to bring in some of the design elements with materiality and the same shingles in a few spots. And the flat roof exposed drop beams or something that shows up in the main house that we try to pick up on as well. Floor plan, fairly straightforward, but it's a 2-bedroom. The primary is on the view side. It overlooks the existing lawn. We tried to do a decent sized deck that allows for a little bit indoor-outdoor connection to that living room. Kitchen and the 2nd bedroom are at the back, somewhat dug into the hillside. Elevations, not too much to talk about here. I think this one's worth pointing out. It does show at the rear, even with this height limit request, it's still quite a bit of digging in at the backside, which we felt was the right balance considering all the factors. I think the sections here show, kind of the cut fill balance that we're trying to strike, and how challenging that 16-foot would have been on the site. And a couple more renderings here. There is some visibility from Bella Vista. So we really wanted that facade to feel anchored, and it is probably where the public sees it most. The other view on the left here is looking across the main house garage to the ADU. A couple other quick things. The ADU code is such that if it was attached, we would have had a 25-foot height limit. We weren't really able to, on this site, figure out how to do that. But I think it's worth mentioning that it's different if it's attached. And then I know in the R15, the main residence would have had a 36-foot height limit due to the 30% grade. Obviously, it doesn't work that way for ADUs, but I think it's designed to allow a little bit more flexibility on steep sites, which we believe this is. So with that, I think I'll leave it there and open up to any questions you have. And thank you for hearing our project.
Thank you. Do any commissioners have questions for the applicant?
I do.
Yeah, please.
Thanks. So one thing that I noticed, and I want to say thanks very much to the Shorts for allowing my Labrador and I to wander on through your gate and go visit the site yesterday. But when I was there, it looks as though I'll call it the upstairs neighbor, the neighbor that's up on Golden Gate, did they look down upon the site? And have you reached out to the neighbors and have you engaged with them?
Yes, sorry, I should have mentioned the neighbor outreach. Obviously, the notice went out, and I know Dan and Maddie did some outreach on their own. I understand that house has been vacant and changed hands quite a bit in the last year, so there haven't been people there, but we did all the outreach we were able to. I do think they have some visibility, but certainly doesn't block views of water or anything. And I think, yeah, I didn't mention the neighbor stuff, which is very important. I think it's fairly advantageous site where it doesn't have a lot of view blockage from neighbors, but we did all the outreach that we could, and we haven't heard from anyone. So
okay. And what is the material of the roof?
It would be a built-up roofing in like a medium to dark gray. That's what we're proposing.
But not reflective,
No.
and
not
there's no
reflective.
skylights.
There are.
There is a
let's see,
skylight.
There
There is
is
a
one
skylight?
skylight,
Yeah.
yes. Maybe go to the roof plan,
Yeah,
which is in the bathroom, I believe, right? Yeah, we did end up with some trying to bring some light into the kitchen was a goal of ours. So we ended up with the Clear Story band that does that, which hopefully is better than a skylight that might emit light at night.
Could I ask about thank you for the fantastic proposal and beautiful project. Is there any height delta to the existing grade on the existing paved surface, or the driveway where that stays as is?
We thought a lot about it. I think we were more or less trying to keep that driveway, basically place the house where we don't have to cut we're gonna have to cut some of that driveway just to repave it to get to the garage, but it more or less sits right where the current driveway is, where the house starts. And again, that goes back to a little bit trying not to have a bunch of steps down. Does that answer your question? Okay.
I have another question.
Go ahead.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
Is there any vegetation or trees that are planned on the Bella Vista Road side for screening purposes?
We are not proposing any in the current one. I think there's a fairly good amount of existing vegetation, which we're not proposing to remove, but this proposal did not include any. I think if that were sensitive to neighbors, certainly something we'd be open to discuss.
I have a question for you. Hi, Sean. Page A 1.3. It looks like a deck off that back bedroom, but it's not labeled, so I just wanted to clarify. Is that,
That is on grade. I think it's actually dug in a few feet. So I think patio is probably a better term for it, but it is a door that opens out. So there is a small patio there.
and it's at grade?
Yeah, I think, yes. I'm looking at my project architect, Megan. Yes. Yeah, it's right on grade.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Are there any other questions for the applicant? No, okay. Okay, thank you.
you.
So now we will open public comment. Are there any questions or comments from members of the public? Or anyone on Zoom with their hand raised?
There are no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we can close public comment, and I will bring it back to the commission for discussion. Alex, would you like to lead us off tonight?
Okay, thank you, Chair. So I visited the site. It's a very interesting piece of topography we're working with there. And a lot of the sites along Bella Vista are quite steep on that side of the island. I feel like the ADU is located in the right place on the site. The basic planning principles seem very logical. I like the fact we're getting an additional housing unit. It's going to be designated affordable. And I kind of, I think, saw the intelligence of bringing in the access to the unit level from the driveway, thinking this is a great opportunity to add a more kind of accessible unit to our housing stock. This is actually a topic that our chair, Ashley, has kind of impressed on me over our time working together, that Belvedere is a city with a lot of very beautiful, interesting houses, not all of which are suitable for every kind of person. So this would, in my opinion, add a unit that could be inhabited by someone as old as myself or even older. So I appreciate all those things. I think the design is good and appropriate for the site. And because of the topography, it doesn't seem to interfere with any of the surrounding neighbors' views. We haven't heard from anybody. So those are all positives in my mind about the design. I do have a question that I guess I want to socialize with my fellow commissioners regarding the height. It doesn't have to be quite as high as it is. When I look at it, the clerestory popping up 3 feet to the bottom of the roof of the clerestory just proportionally seems a little tall to me. And I don't know if I'm against it because it doesn't necessarily impact anybody. But then again, when I look at this, is actually, I think, the first ADU that has come to the commission while I've been on it that's under a conditional use permit. And so it's a little bit of us thinking about what precedent we're setting. And one precedent could be if it doesn't have any impact on anybody, sky's the limit. But I want to ask the question, and I'd appreciate if the rest of you could give me some feedback on that, because there's a 13-foot high ceiling in the living room, which is nice and generous. On the other hand, proportionally, the spaces aren't that broad. So, I think if it came down a foot, it'd still be a beautiful space. So that's what I'm kind of thinking about right now. And I think I'll leave it at that and let you pass it on to another commissioner.
Yeah, I do have thoughts on that, and I can maybe wait and elaborate on at the end. But Jenna, would you like to?
Thanks. I also, when I visited the site, I appreciated the fact that it is sort of tucked back up in there. And, right now it's, it's a piece of property that you would never even notice was there. And I think it is a great opportunity to add another dwelling. I think the design looks really lovely. And I too have the same comment about the clerestory window. I understand that they want to get additional light into the kitchen and into that sort of, back area. And that unlike a number of the ADU units that we have seen on plans, but obviously not had any sort of approval rights over, this one's actually going to be lived in. And not used as a gym and not used as a storage space or whatever, but is actually going to have people living it, which is the whole idea of an accessory dwelling unit. So I appreciate the fact that steps have been made not only to make it accessible, but also to make it filled with light and have views, as well as minimize the impact on neighbors. And I took a number of pictures, and other than the one neighbor up the hill, I think it's done a very, very good job of sort of tucking into its nook and suiting its purpose.
Thank you. Justin?
Again, thank you to the applicant for a beautiful project. And I echo my fellow commissioners. I agree that it really feels responsibly placed, well-designed, and a clear fit for the site. I think the context of the clerestory windows for me is they do feel like they fit into that even treescape, the canopy of the trees that are there in the existing space. That the style and the fit of the clerestory windows feel a part of that sort of natural landscape. So I think they do fit under the context.
Thank you. So I think, Alex, you brought up a really important point with the height. I think it's really tempting to look at these as sort of one-off cases, and but there's a danger that over time, I think we may inadvertently end up undermining the community and Belvedere's planning principles. And I just think we really have to make these decisions about ADUs that are exceeding ministerial limits in a much broader context. I think we're entering a new chapter right now in Belvedere, and I mean throughout the state, but development is just going to become much more intensive all over the place, not just here. And so I think that we really just need to think about these decisions and the implications for Belvedere in terms of scale and privacy, and of course, environmental impacts. And it doesn't seem like a big deal when it's a one ADU, but if you're looking, at all of Belvedere, we essentially have eliminated single family zoning. So I think it's, we just have to be very careful and make these decisions carefully about, ADUs that are exceeding height limits or any other kind of limit. So I also had the same concerns about the height. I think that you can take that down at least 2 feet. I'm not sure that you need that whole kind of raised roof, clerestory roof in the middle at all. I think you still have 9.5-foot ceilings, which is, a generous ceiling height. So I think that I, as a condition of approval, would like to see that height come down. The other thing that I noted when I was there is just, there's nothing currently next to you guys on that lot at 330, I think it is. But very well, there could be someday, sooner than you think. And I think that whole space between your lot and their lot should really be planted with trees, greenery, this structure. There's just a big visual impact from Bella Vista. And I know you've got some, mature trees already there, which is great. But if you could think about adding a few more at different heights, just to kind of screen some of the building, I think that would be very helpful. And then I think minor comment, but some lights, some soffit lights that you have facing Bella Vista Avenue, I would take out. And any lights that you have on the steps, and instead of facing them toward the street, just flip them so that they're on the interior wall facing the property. But generally speaking, I think it's okay. I think it's a very nice design. It fits well with the home. It makes a lot of sense. We really appreciate ADUs. We want ADUs here. So, I think this is, all things considered, a fairly successful one. But I also think that the height needs to come down, that top height. So those are my comments. So I don't know if I can get support on those conditions. If there's any more conversation that we should have before we move to a motion.
So I really appreciate the idea of setting a precedent that is not just, if you're not affecting the person next to you, then it's okay. I mean, one of the things that we've seen, especially on some of the lagoon houses, is that, houses here are getting bigger. And so there is the idea that, yeah, you're building something now, but as you just said, like the empty space next to you, there may be something built there soon. So in anticipation of whether it's, building an ADU there or a lot split, because I think that the lot next to them is large enough for a lot split. Or, as we see in the lagoon, like, 1-story buildings becoming 2-story buildings. I really do think this is that we do need to think about the decisions we make now impacting future development. I really like the idea of screening vegetation. Because right now there's a fence with a lot of ivy on it, but.
So what are the thoughts on lowering the height and what's appropriate? Is it, I think I would leave it up to Sean to work with the applicant to figure out what an appropriate pivot is, if it's eliminating that whole section or tweaking it so that you can keep some of that height, but it's not quite so high. So unless there are other thoughts about it.
Well, and I think it might be appropriate to let the architect kind of make the final determination. I mean, it strikes me, you can eliminate the clerestory completely. I like the clerestory in that, there is a lot of shade on that side of the island, and getting light into the interior is good. And we are dealing with a steep lot, but, there's other variables here, like you might decide to drop the lower level roof 6 inches instead of 9.6, maybe it'd be 9, and then maybe the clerestories 2. I mean, I'm thinking something in the realm of 2 feet. You could still preserve the clerestory if you want to, or you could raise everything on the lower level to 1 level. And I don't personally, I don't think we need to dictate it. I think we should sort of try to maybe set a goal of.
I think 2 feet is very appropriate, and I think achievable too.
If we could open the public hearing and ask the applicant if they're okay with these conditions, that
Yes,
would be
please.
great.
Okay, I will
Thank you.
reopen public comment.
Yeah, Thank you. I think we thought a lot about the clear story and the 13-foot as an ask on an ADU. So I think totally understand all that. The clear story, if it gets to be a 12-inch band, I think it begs the question if it's worth doing it all. Just proportionally, it looks a little weird. So I appreciate if we have the ability to work on if we want to take the 9.6 to 9 or kind of figure out the best solution that maybe keeps the clear story. I think 2 feet down would probably require moving the driveway down. Hopefully not steps, but it gets a little tricky. So, 18 inches or a foot feels very achievable too. We could certainly probably make it work. But yeah, I do appreciate the sentiment if we are able to figure out the best way to take, a combination away of ceiling height and lower the finished floor and find the best solution.
Yes.
So would that, in that instance, could you potentially lower the entire structure to mitigate that if you're lowering the drop the driveway, maybe if?
Yeah, we looked a lot of that. I think you start getting into, cost of digging out the driveway and drainage to the house. So that was one challenge. The other thing, the clear story, I know you mentioned 3 feet, but 16 inches of that is the roof framing and the built-up roofing. So it's not like a 3-foot window. So I think that's worth noting. But yeah, I think we could probably look at lowering the overall house a little bit, take a little bit out of the different ceiling heights. So yeah, seems reasonable.
Before you go, I mean, in my mind, I think Ashley and I are kind of vibrating between 18 inches and 2 feet, making a condition in that area. I mean, you'd probably like 18 inches better.
I think
but
2 feet is reasonable. It's almost 14 feet top height.
Yeah,
So I think 2 feet is reasonable.
okay.
That's my feeling.
Just one thing in terms of how we thought about the project type, we had proposals or designs that were higher than the current proposal. And the idea was to sort of in line with the precedent idea, get it below 25, which would be the limit. It was an attached ADU. So I think from our vantage point, it was, if we're thinking about precedent, we tried to fit within that existing rule rather than sort of say arbitrarily whether it's 24 feet or 23 feet as the limit for an ADU.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I think there's support for the conditions. I think.
So the conditions being lowering by 2 feet, screening vegetation. And what was your third?
It's the lighting,
Oh,
but
yeah.
that comes back.
Yeah,
That will come back to the chair for final. But I do want it, I think, just
Yep.
noted, removal of the soffits on Bella Vista and then just adjusting those step lights. Any final questions, comments? No?
Ken's got it written down.
Okay, sorry, I need to close public comment.
And there are no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I will close public comment and bring it back to the commission. Okay, so may I have a motion on 333 Bella Vista?
Get into the resolution. All right. Where's the resolution? Oh, thank you. All right, I would like to make a motion to adopt the resolution granting design review to construct a new ADU at 333 Bella Vista Avenue, subject to the following 3 conditions: the lowering of the overall height of the ADU by at least 2 feet, the inclusion of screening vegetation on the side of the side of Bella Vista and the neighbor, the plan of which vegetation to be reviewed by the planning commission chair at a later date. And the reduction of, or change of the lighting on the steps and the removal of the soffit lighting on Bella Vista, the lighting plan of which should be reviewed by the planning commissioner at a later date.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, I have another motion to adopt a resolution granting a use permit to allow the ADU at 333 Bella Vista to exceed the 16-foot height limitation for a detached unit. Once again, subject to lowering by at least 2 feet as set out in the plans.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Thank you. Congratulations to the applicant. Thank you. Moving on to our final item, election of the new planning commission chair. And I would love the honor of nominating Alex Seidel to be planning commission chair. It's been wonderful working with you, and I know that you will do just a fantastic job at this, and you bring so much experience and such a wonderful perspective with your architecture background. So I would like to nominate Alex. Can I please get a second?
I will happily second his nomination.
Great. Do we need to vote on it? Yes. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Vote for
Yeah, I don't
yourself,
think I
Alex.
vote on this, do I?
Yeah.
No. Aye, okay. Um, I'm still
Okay.
learning.
Thank you, Mrs.
Um,
Mayor.
And Chairman Johnson, I feel like I've got some pretty big shoes to fill here with you departing. Thank you so much for leading us recently in this. Really appreciate collaborating with you on the commission.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Congratulations, and effective next meeting, Alex will be running the show. So, okay,
I'll hand the gavel to him.
by all means. Okay. Oh, wait, hang on. There you go. Okay, I now adjourn the meeting.
Congratulations.